Okay, we're on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Tribe Talks. My name is Sandy and we have Steph and Rachel as our special guests today. Welcome, Rachel.
Hello, how are you, ladies?
Awesome. So a little bit about Tribe Talks and why we do them. So Tribe Talks is really about not only raising awareness of different conditions and disabilities, but what we want to do is create a more compassionate and understanding and inclusive world by sharing real stories of real families and the things that they deal with, on a daily basis, and sort of give people an understanding of how they can help create this inclusive world, because all of our actions contribute. So we're going to interview Rachel today. So Rachel is a mama of 3, and she's going to tell us a bit about her journey so far with her son, Cameron. So welcome, Rachel.
Hello.
Welcome.
So fill us in a bit about what, your special needs parenting journey has been like so far.
Okay, so Cameron's my second child and was born healthy, happy, and we took him home just as a normal baby. He was very irritable as a baby especially, and at the age of 1, he started to get some diagnoses come through. And we did MRIs and we had doctor's appointments, and just trying to fill all that in, and early intervention, as we all do, those first couple of years, and then I sort of got to about Cameron was 3 or 4, and I was stuck between home and hospital and therapy life, and juggling all those things for Cameron. And I thought, no one in our community really knows we exist. No one knows of Cameron, and Cameron is going to be in this community. So that's when I sort of reached out just to local charities. I didn't want to, do an online thing. I knew our Cameron would need assistance along the way. And I remember going and meeting one charity group in particular, and they were going to fold that night just because, they couldn't get volunteers to step up. And we took Cameron and they didn't fold, and we started reaching out into the community that way, and people started to realise that, we had this boy, and obviously there was fundraising events to help us along with things. And I guess that's what really grew for me, to realise that people need to know we're about, that he's going to need things along the way. And then I sort of became a bit of an advocacy in the area for special needs, in particular, when Livy's Places started popping up when Cameron was about 5 or 6. I remember going out to my first Livy's Place out at Jordan Springs. And Cameron finally had fun at a playground, and we stayed there for ages. And I remember coming home that night saying to my husband, I'm going to make one happen in the Hawkesbury. I want one down the road. I don't want to have to travel. Like, this is ridiculous. And he, so here we go. So that night I sent an email to just our local mayor, thinking, I would never, ever hear back. And next thing you know, within an hour, I get a reply. And I remember, running that fast down the hallway, I probably almost did the splits and fell over. And was just so excited that she actually even acknowledged me. So Jane, I sort of got in touch with Livy's Place, and we sort of went down to the council and had a chat to them down there about making it happen. It seemed impossible. Teamed up with our local member, who then years later, it wasn't a 2-second job. We petitioned, we fought, and we won. Do you know what I mean? And I think we built the first one's maybe now 2 years old, and we've got another one. So I've got 2 within, 10 kilometres of my house, and able to take Cameron out in the community for everyone to see that, he's a boy in a wheelchair, and he can bounce on a trampoline, he can swing, he can laugh, and he can interact with others. And to me, kids need to see that, to accept. Cameron went to preschool one day a week, and the kids there, when he was little, accepted him and adored him. And I think it's really important.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally agree with you. So why don't you fill everyone in a little bit about like Cameron's condition? Like, what are the top things you'd like people to know?
Yeah, so Cameron's got a rare brain condition, but it falls under the banner of cerebral palsy. So we didn't, we didn't have the unknown. We were able to get funding grants when Cameron was younger to get that help, because if you don't fit, the ticker box, you don't get that help like some other families will tell you. So we were lucky enough that we fit under that banner of cerebral palsy. But with that, Cameron's also got epilepsy. At the age of 2, Cameron got a feeding tube, and he's pretty much fed via that 95% of his diet. Meds go through that. He's legally blind, but there's still a person there. He's still, a 9 or a 10-year-old boy who, loves his iPad, loves family, loves music, loves to, swing his hips whenever he hears a song, have a giggle with all of us, and to interact. I know Cameron's got switches, and we'll be out at the shops, and someone will be talking to me, and then Cameron's going yes, yes, and people will be thrown back, and I'm like, oh, he was talking to you. So doing that sort of throws people a little bit. That there, although he's non-verbal, he can communicate, and communication is so different for everyone. Some people sign, some people use a pod or, the apps, and can, type a few things and then show someone. Cameron's is low tech at the moment, but, one day we hope it, we'll get to something amazing and he'll be able to tell me 20 sentences at once, and, will tell me what clothes he wants to wear or whatever. But at the moment it's slow going.
Yeah.
So how can the wider community support a family like yours? Like what would be like some really tangible things that people could do to make your life easier and to make, I suppose, a more inclusive society altogether? Good question.
Oh, there's lots of things the community could do. Little things, only park in disabled spots if you really need them is one. Don't park walkways in. There's been so many times that I think it's a gorgeous day outside. I'm going to take Cameron for a walk, and I can't even access a footpath because people have parked their cars across it. And I know they probably don't even realise, but I know, a few years ago I've had an argument with someone, and we did sort it out, but it was, this is my son's access point to get through here. I can't, it's the main road. I don't want to take him on the main road. It's little things. Nobody's there, acknowledge him. Don't stare, or if he does stare, it's okay. If your kids ask a question, don't hush. It's okay. Like, I'm happy to answer questions. I had one boy say to his dad in front of me, oh, he must have a brain injury. And the dad said, don't say that, and went to hit him. And I said, but he's right. He does have a brain injury. If we don't inform these kids, they're not going to know, or their curiosity is going to wander away, and it's just going to be that stare.
I feel the same. Like, even from our perspective, like if Charlie's having a meltdown at the park, or she's talking but someone's not understanding her, I've had kids ask questions and their parents are like, shh, don't do that, like, don't be rude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love when people ask questions, because you're teaching them to ask questions, and then it's not a big deal. Then they can play together and do what they need to do.
Exactly.
But when you suppress it, it becomes that awkward elephant in the room thing, and it shouldn't be. It's like, let's...
Yeah, do you know what I mean? For a 13-year-old, I would say, if he had a seizure and someone else, he had a seizure. To a 5-year-old, my oldest would always say that Cameron's epilepsy was just he had a wobbly brain. So we know ways, because we're living through it, of telling a 5-year-old, he just has a wobbly brain. It's okay. These things happen. Or telling a teenager, an adult, you wouldn't say to an adult, oh, he's got a wobbly brain. You just say, oh, you just had a seizure. It's okay. But we know, because we're living in it, how to tell these audience what it is, and inform them.
Yeah.
I know. So we met Rachel actually on our retreat. She was like extra that come along, and it was the best. It was the best decision for Rachel to come along.
Yeah.
So much fun floating around in the pool with a wine, and we had many a chat in the spa. But Rachel was telling me about the support systems that she has in place, and I actually think it's quite unique, and I believe that Rachel is such a great advocate and so awesome in that area because of these support systems. So do you want to share with everyone a little bit about that side of the journey for you? Because I know a lot of parents don't have that. So it's almost like by you looking after that part of you, you're able to advocate in a much larger capacity.
Yeah, so do you mean prior NDIS, I think we were all able to go to these support groups. I know I went to mums groups with Cerebral Palsy Alliance, and they all got stopped. I'm not sure the real reason or what's the go. But during Cameron started school, and we were lucky enough that we have an amazing support system called Project CSC, run by the Salvos, and they do huge amount of stuff from Fridays at school. They do tribe parents, so that's obviously once you drop your kids off. It could just be a craft morning of, making candles or Bollywood dancing or, something fun like that, or doing even just catching up over a tea or a coffee and some biscuits and seeing how we all are. In school holidays, they run programs for these kids, and some school holidays, one, it could just be too cold to get out, or two, Cameron could just be unwell, that the whole 2 weeks that we do have school holidays, they're the only activities we go to, because at least I know it's safe for me to go there. People are going to understand that if Cameron sleeps the whole time, it's okay, or if I need to do anything, it's fine. So we have an amazing support system at our school. And I'm so thankful, and our whole school community wouldn't be so close without those two. And realistically, I think it's built us all up as parents. We all are able to help each other out if one of the kids are in hospital or whatever else. We really are a nice support system, and I do hope that a lot of schools can get this assistance or find ways to build each other up as parents, because being a special needs parent is not easy. There's sleepless nights, there's the appointments, there's the therapy. It's not all flowers like we all make it out to be, but yeah, we wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah, and I think that's where we hope that Thrive Tribe can fill a gap for people, in that not everyone has a community like that at school.
No.
So, and some people can't get out to, as you said, like groups and, things like, I know that when Imi was little, we used to go to the Luke Pritis Foundation, which is a local service out near us, for play group. But then when she started school, the other groups were on at a time that I couldn't get to with her. So I didn't have that anymore. So I think, if we can look to a few different places for supports and building that community, it allows us to feel more supported, so we can then do a better job of supporting, the people who need us. Definitely.
And just to know someone else understands what you're going through is huge. Some days, you just want to know that other people understand that you have to get up at ridiculous time to aid that child or whatever it is, or even if you go to the hospital or an appointment and there's a surgery, you always know you've got someone, and you guys are building up that community. I see it all the time, from Imi's 4 o'clock.
It was 2:30 today. 2:30 watching
TV. Looked amazing.
I know. You have to come over for one, right?
I just thought that was the cutest, but and I'm sure you're just like, ugh, at this time, Amy. Not now.
I know.
Not many people understand that.
Yeah.
So you guys are building up that community.
Thanks, beautiful. Thanks, Jane. Steph, did you want to ask any other questions of Rachel? We've done a quick interview today. She just got straight to the point.
Yeah, no, I think, and we were talking about this before, one thing that I love about Rachel is that, she's just such a mama bear advocate, whilst being so, such a great energy around her. She's, she really has fought to get those supports that she needs for her family, not just for Cameron, for her family as a whole. And that's like really inspirational. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in there and I'll bring them up on the side as well.
One thing we didn't discuss that we were going to is, okay, Rach, I know with advocating, and I've done it as well, is that, you know, Emmy's plan wasn't what we needed. And I know you had one earlier with Cameron that wasn't, you know, suitable for his needs. Can you explain the process you went through just to really advocate, particularly with the NDIS, for what he needed?
Yeah, so as we all know, there's so many inconsistencies with the NDIS, and I know I've done a bit of work with you both last year with the NDIS and just how inconsistent it is. But you've got to do the right thing for you and your family. If you look at that plan and it's not right, and you think, how can that be? How I can't, my child can't, you know, use that for the whole year. Don't just accept it. You don't need to accept it. There's avenues around. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, go back to your planner and say, hey, that's not right. You know, if you're not happy with that, and that very well could happen. You know, your local member is an amazing person. They do want to help you out. And if they don't, that's okay. Joan, I know my local member's amazing and I love her to death, but there are other avenues. I know last year I even, you know, went as far as freedom of information, which doesn't help much. But Joan, you've just got to keep nutting it out. You won't get much of freedom of information. You basically get your own information back, which does nothing for you. But Joan, if you just keep nutting at it, and it's exhausting, but you've got to think, I've got to do it for my child. I didn't really do a lot of it. Like I said earlier on, we were just surviving with therapies, and a lot of people are doing that right now. When I first learned to advocate, Cameron, we did a big end of financial year for a big organisation. It went mail out to whole of Australia, and it talked about Cameron was going to get his first wheelchair and we need this money donated urgently. And as soon as that went out, Cameron was taken off the wheelchair fitting for that month. And I was beside myself. I thought, how can they do that? And then I was shattered because Cameron didn't even sit in a specialised pram. He just was never comfortable anywhere. And I remember one day I said to my carer at the time that was home with me, I said, I'm just going to call the CEO of this charity and I'm just going to tell him straight. So I called her.
I love when you're like that. I love that. You're like, no.
And I just said, can I please be put through to blah, blah? And they said, what's your name? I'm putting you through. And I just went, what? They're going to put me through without anything else.
What do I say now?
So I explained. I said, we did this whole big thing. You told the whole of Australia that, you know, my son Cameron, and we got photos, he's going to get this brand new wheelchair and he hasn't got anything. He's got nothing. I said, he still sits on my lap. And they went, oh. So Joanne, and then he said, well, we'll fund you your first wheelchair. And I thought, well, I'm sure that's what the whole of freaking Australia would have thought when they got that handed to them. And Joanne, I think that was my moment of growing my backbone and going, hang on a second. Nothing's just going to come to me like I thought it would be. And like everyone thinks it is. Joanne, everyone goes, oh, but you've got the NDIS. Yeah. And you're just like, yeah, okay. It's a yearly fight if you really want the truth. But what the whole of Australia needs to know is any of us at any time can be put on the NDIS. And we could all need it. And I think people really need to educate themselves and understand what it means. Do you know what I mean? When there's the cuts or whatever happens and all this politics around it, you could need it, your mum or your dad or someone really close could need it. And it is something that, you know, I think they need to invest in properly and make sure these kids and these adults and everyone is supported properly because there's, you know, as Sandy's said many a time, there's horrible stories out there that it just breaks our hearts. Parents in breakdown, kids, you know, not getting the support. You know, I know we've had to fought one year and it got that bad that, you know, it was over simple hydration. He needs a tilting bed. Otherwise, you know, we're going to be in hospital and it's going to be a vicious cycle. And you shouldn't have to. It should just be a lot easier than this. And I don't know who gets to make all these decisions of, oh no, Cameron doesn't get a wheelchair this year, or he doesn't get a standing frame this year, or however they do it. When we pay thousands of dollars for these reports that the taxpayers are paid for, and it's like, why go against the recommendations?
Yeah, it's very true. I think it's also like important to acknowledge that there are so many great bits of the NDIS when it's done properly.
Yeah.
However, that is quite variable. So, we after our fight this year, which was like a good 6-month process. So remember the roundtable meeting with the Minister for Health and, my local member and, phone calls and emails. Like it was exhausting. And Emmy's plan more than doubled. But at the end of it, I was like,
because you were loud.
Yes, the louder. I think it's the louder you are.
Because you were loud, and it shouldn't be like that. Like, and I've said to my local member many of times, what about the parents that are also carrying a disability, or what happens if it's a second language? What happens to these people where there are the barriers?
Well, and if you don't say the right words that link to the legislation, then you're not going to get the funds that you need. No.
And we don't have time to research this jargon, really.
No.
We just want to be supporting our kids and doing the right thing by them.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because, like, obviously Charlie's little. So when we first went in, we were talking about this the other day, I feel like we've gone into the early intervention bubble and it's like, oh, okay, this is all good. And now that she's starting school and things are starting to get a little bit more complex and her needs is like, so we're getting clarity around that. I'm like, ooh, I feel like we're going into a dark tunnel. But I do feel like at the same time really blessed to be like connected with people like yourself and this community as well. It was just such a brain's trust of knowledge.
It's a minefield, you know what I mean, without a community like this. And you can jump online at midnight or whatever time you're awake and you have that thought, and you've got thousands of mamas and dads behind you with answers and support.
The power of community.
Totally. We've actually we're linking arms with a care service called AFIA, who do care services in Sydney, and it's coming up next week. It's coming soon. Yeah. So on the 11th of June, we're kicking off a series of NDIS workshops. So they write plans, they provide services, and they're all over the NDIS. So we wanted to get some experts in who knew exactly the right words to say and how the NDIS works to educate our mums. So everybody can have the right tools to I suppose, firstly, create a plan that says what they need, and secondly, teach them those skills in advocacy. So this is actually a great segue into that next week.
Yeah, because no plan's the same. Even if you've got two kids that, their diagnoses look exactly the same, they look like they've got the same severity, they're still not going to look the same.
They have different needs, different challenges.
Totally. And that's the part that you need to sort out what needs are for each kid.
Yeah.
And totally to the planner, they might not think, that little goal means anything, but to you it means the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. How excited was I about one piece of pasta the other night?
I love
And someone else would be like, I cooked that and you're going to eat it. And I'm like, yes, she ate one piece.
But it is little things like that, and it'll be different for everyone. Like I said to Sandy this morning, Charlie wore shoes for the first time in 2 years, and I was like people just don't understand outside of this community for us how big that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us today, Rach. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, don't forget to join us next Friday for Tribe Talks again, and Thursday will be our first NDIS workshop with AFIA. There'll be more details to come about that. So have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. See you guys. Bye.